Welcome to the Drep and Stone podcast, the podcast where two friends, we raise a glass and we have a conversation. I'm Nick.
I'm Kyle.
Kyle, so I started taping my mouth shut.
Cool. Like, why?
That is the correct question that you ask after someone says that to another person. So for whatever reason, like I have been noticing, like I'll wake up in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And like I don't know, kind of like started sleeping with my mouth open. And no, seriously, like so it's been like drying out my mouth and like
Sure.
like just it's caused my throat to be sore. Like
Yeah.
I don't know, it was a thing, and I've never like it's never happened before. Like nothing's changed in my life to like cause any
Make
of that.
you start
Yeah, I don't know if it's just like a weather thing.
being a mouth sleeper.
I don't know, and like normally that's not how I breathe and like mouth sleep or anything. So I was like, okay, well, what is a way to combat this? And I guess like it's a thing. You know, you can buy like mouth tape or stuff. I'm just using like duct tape.
Surely not.
No.
Not with that much beard.
No, I'm just using like some
Blue painter's tape.
no, like tape that you would like tape a like a bandage on with.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah, just so it doesn't hurt when I pull it off my face.
Right.
And that dude, like that's a game changer.
Hmm.
Yeah, totally works.
Interesting.
Yeah, no, it's a little weird, but I need to get that off my chest right now.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
Glad you did.
Yeah.
So you've always been a mouth closed sleeper.
Yeah, always. Or at least
Teeth grinder?
No, never.
No.
As far as I know, like I've always slept with my mouth closed, and then like, or maybe I just realized it now. I don't know.
Like as a kid with allergies.
Yeah.
I've learned a variety of ways of sleeping. If stuff is clogged up here, I can certainly transition to an open mouth night sleep.
Sure.
Real easy. But yeah, no, that's I'm glad you got the solution.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not too awkward.
No, it's definitely
Perhaps
awkward. No,
it's awkward in conversation.
Oh yeah, no,
but
it's
just in
definitely-
practice.
Yeah. No, it's awkward in both.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, but I feel like this is a safe space, and I can share it with you and 20,000 of our friends.
Yeah. Interesting.
So, yeah.
Safe space.
Yeah, and I
Fingers
think we all
crossed.
need spaces like
Mouth
that.
taped.
Mouth. It's the new safe word. Mouth tape.
Right. I'm glad.
Thank you. Now that
Can we have a drink?
speaking of dry mouth,
Yeah?
you want something to drink?
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
good.
I do.
We've got another cocktail because Kyle,
What is it?
the summer of cocktails.
That's right. We're still in the summer of cocktails.
I have really enjoyed what we've done so far.
Me too.
I mean, as we've already discussed, like we're kind of batching some of these and recording them. So we've had a lot of great cocktails come out just recently.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
I hope that everyone else has enjoyed experimenting along with us.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Really good stuff. As you know, when I think about cocktails in summer, for me, I want something that's kind of light and refreshing, something that's easy going.
Yeah. I mean, it depends on the scenario.
Oh, no, for sure. You're right.
But
Absolutely,
yeah, that's a great starting point.
So I've got one for us this week
Yeah.
that involves, I think, for my money anyway, the most summeriest of the fruits.
Which is?
Watermelon.
Oh, totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That is the fruit of summer.
I think so. I mean, like, I know that there are a lot of fruits that, coincide with summer.
Sure.
But for whatever reason, man.
I mean, at least in the South.
For sure.
Because like that's it. Like,
Yeah.
it's watermelon season.
Watermelon goes pretty well here in Florida, too.
Yeah.
And so when I start seeing those Florida watermelons.
Watermelon.
When I start seeing those damn it.
Waller.
When I start seeing those Florida watermelons pop up in the store, I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
it's about to be summer, and I'm happy.
I rarely ever buy the chunks at
Oh,
Publix.
really? Yeah.
Unless they're BOGO.
Oh, correct. Like it's been the last week.
Yeah.
Why do you think we're doing it?
Yeah. Yeah. It was BOGO.
Yeah.
Me and the kids went through both in one night.
Oh, easy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I bought one this past week, and because it's BOGO, obviously I bought two. I crushed one by myself.
Yeah. It's
Easy.
easy to do.
And then I was like, man, cocktail, watermelon. Let's figure this
Yeah.
one out.
This needs to be a thing.
Yeah. So you want to go make one?
Yeah. Let's do it.
All right. So what we're doing is a bit of a variation. We're just going to call it a watermelon cooler.
Okay.
Yeah. And so we're going to go make it. You're going to come along with us, hear us make it, and then I'll give you the specs, and we'll sip it and see what happens.
Sip it and see what happens.
Perfect. Here we go.
Need that on a shirt.
Sip it and see what happens.
Yeah.
All right, and we're back.
Cocktails in a glass.
Yeah, they're pretty.
In a mason jar.
I know. I saw that and I was like, I think this is the right fit.
Yeah, I agree. Nice aesthetic there.
A little bit of watermelon garnish.
Yeah.
So I made it slightly different in each iteration. One, I just left all the chunks in yours.
Chunky bits.
And mine, I strained a little bit of the chunks out.
Yeah.
So here's what we got here in this watermelon cooler. 3 ounces of diced watermelon. That's by weight.
Okay.
About, let's say, 3/4 of an ounce of lime juice.
Right.
We've got about 1/4 of an ounce of simple syrup.
Okay.
We've got 2 ounces of gin.
Right.
I used something a little more floral, and this was actually the Roku gin, which is from Centauri.
Ooh.
Yeah. And then I added, let's say, maybe 2 ounces.
Just topped it.
Yeah, topped that with some ginger beer.
Yeah.
You can use a ginger ale if you'd like. I wanted something with just a little bit more bite, and I find that ginger beers tend to be a little on the bitey side.
Yeah. Tends to have that spice.
Yeah, we used Reed's, but you can use whatever you want. Whatever's at hand.
Yeah. Watermelon cooler.
Yeah. So my thought process with this drink, okay, and to be fair, like I kind of cobbled this together a little bit from a couple of different recipes, was that watermelon in its fruit form is very sweet.
Right.
But it has a light flavor. Like if you were to ask someone, what is the flavor of watermelon? It's hard to pinpoint. As
Right.
with, to be fair, with most fruits, right?
Right.
Well, it just is the flavor of fruit. But watermelon is super subtle because it's mostly water.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, like you get into that center bit. If it's bright red,
Right.
it's got a unique flavor to it.
Sure.
That you wouldn't confuse for anything else. But yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. It's just kind of generically sweet fruit.
Right. But when you think like a watermelon Jolly Rancher is not the flavor of watermelon.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
watermelon flavoring is usually nowhere close.
Correct. So in this case, we've got the watermelon. It has such a kind of just light and airy flavor.
Yep.
That I knew that if we went with like a super strong gin, that it would kind of like
It would overwhelm.
Yeah. So like I didn't want anything like super botanical. But with that also being said, like I wanted the ginger to pop a little bit because that kind of ups the ante,
Right.
ups the complexity, and takes the you could top it with soda water if you wanted, but it just takes it to a little bit of a different level.
Right.
So that was my thought process here.
Cool.
Let's see how the execution goes.
Let's give it a slurp.
You gonna eat the watermelon first?
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's the right call. Ooh, that ginger beer is bitey.
Very refreshing. I think it is pretty well spot on to what you're saying in terms of like summer forward.
Yeah.
I like the chunky bits.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like that's kind of like a a bit of a marker of what we've been doing a lot recently of like, I don't know. I like having that added into it.
Yeah.
Kind of makes a more richer experience.
Agreed.
A little bit. Because when you have that left over in your mouth and you are able to then specifically find watermelon.
Yeah.
Well,
and I think
that's cool too.
It changes the texture very clearly, but I think that it adds to the drink as a whole because you have those variations in texture.
Right.
Yeah. I have a little bit of chunky bits. I probably should have kept more in mine. But yeah, what I really like about it is that the gin to me just sits like I can pick out the gin, but it's not something that's like, whoa, gin.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it's
for
definitely
sure.
not a gin forward drink. The gin is just kind of the accompaniment. Honestly, you could make this without the gin and still, have like a basically ginger watermelon soda.
Right.
But the gin is just a really nice like layer within that.
Yeah, I think it's benefited by the gin. It adds that kind of specific note to it.
Yeah.
But it's not overwhelmed by it. I think I guess more or less I'm saying like that's the right spirit for this.
Agreed.
I think just about anything else it would begin to dominate and that would be forward. More or less kind of like the ginger beer I think takes over.
I think
and
so
it
too.
becomes that first and foremost. But then like I'm saying, the gin doesn't really ever make itself pronounced.
Right.
It's just always kind of there. You can kind of push everything else aside and find it. But then the watermelon, because of the chunky bits, you're able to get that towards the end of it. And that's kind of like what you finish on is watermelon.
Yeah. Well, and I think like depending on your level of, and this is, we talked about this in other episodes, you could very easily just use a ginger ale. So if you don't want the hot bitey nature of a ginger beer, which is what we have here.
Right.
Just a little bit of that ginger nature is going to elevate that, I think.
Yeah, agreed.
But for me, like, again, I really like that. Like, it verges on almost too much ginger. But because of how your palate goes through the drink, that by the time it's like, oh, that's a lot of ginger, you then get the wash of the watermelon.
This would benefit from a rim.
I agree.
Maybe like a tahini rim.
Yeah.
Would balance it really well, because then you'd get the bite from the ginger, and then you'd have like that salty nature, but then you're finishing with a sweet gin watermelon.
Sure.
You know, that'd be a fun ride.
I mean, this is very similar. Like, if you look up a mule, like any sort of mule generally will call for ginger beer, ginger ale.
Right.
And normally a mule uses vodka.
Right.
So this is basically kind of a riff on a couple of different things. Like, I didn't want a watermelon margarita, but very easily you could throw tequila in this and a little bit more lime, and you got a watermelon margarita.
Right.
And I'm not a super big fan of vodka, just as... in general, like, it doesn't impart too much, or it doesn't impart enough flavor for me. So I really like that gin element in that, like you said, it's there, but it's not super pronounced.
Right.
Yeah.
Agreed. I think it's the right call.
When would this be the perfect cocktail?
This is definitely an outdoors cocktail. This is definitely a daytime, refreshing, around lunch kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Maybe on a picnic,
Yeah.
Maybe somewhere at the park.
Yeah. I'm thinking like a barbecue, maybe.
Yeah.
Like, whether it's while you're grilling some meat, or while the meat's been grilled and you're hanging out and it's outside and it's a little toasty.
Yep.
But you're like, you know what? Let's cool off.
Yeah. You're sitting in the shade.
Yeah.
In your lawn chair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though here in Florida, shade in the lawn chair is still like 105.
It's painful.
Degrees. Yeah, it's still.
It's not recommended.
No, it is not.
Yeah.
Yeah, quite nice.
Yeah. No, it's definitely summertime, and it's definitely outside.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Thanks.
Good one.
Appreciate that, man. Speaking of something light and refreshing,
Yeah.
let's talk about summer entertainment.
Okay.
All right. So last year we did a whole like summer movie roundup. We went through like literally every movie being released that summer.
Yeah, I remember us talking about like that was going to be the summer of the return to the movies.
And I still maintain that. Like, last summer there was a lot of films that came out. They were just like that one and that one and that one.
Yeah, everybody was kind of like, throwing caution to the wind, and like, we've been waiting to make these movies. A lot of them were movies that were delayed because of, the pandemic and everything, and it was like this was the big return. Some hit.
Yeah.
Some didn't.
Yep.
But yeah, no, it was a very exciting, like, kind of celebratory time.
But last year I went to the movies much more last summer than I had in the previous 4 summers.
Yeah.
Obviously, like, 2019 was not a big movie summer for me, and then obviously every other summer after that was like, toss up basically.
Right.
So last summer I think I went to maybe 4, almost 5 movies in theaters.
Yeah. I mean, I just think every studio was kind of like holding their big blockbusters that they had planned to do, and they just put all of them out last year.
Yeah. But this is not that year.
Yeah, no, this year seems to be like a lot more caution.
Yeah, or I don't know if it's necessarily caution, or if it's like we did the big things last year, and so this year, like, we still have good movies coming out because we're gonna talk about them,
right?
But we don't have as many like summer blockbuster movies, kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think last year had something to do with that.
I agree.
Just in terms of, I think there were a lot of movies that released that were disappointments financially.
Yes,
and didn't make what they thought they would. So I think a lot of studios like Disney and some of the other bigger ones have kind of, let's be a little bit more cautious and let's like reevaluate and make sure we're putting out the right things.
Agreed. So I think this movie's already been out for a little while, but I feel like there's always a movie that is the like start of summer kind of movie.
Yeah.
I think it's that like first, maybe second week of May. Is that like first, okay, here is the summer, beginning of the summer movie. I recognize that like summer doesn't start until, for a lot of people, at least here in America, it's like Memorial Day. Is that kind of the kickoff of summer?
Right.
But this year, the first movie of summer, if you will, was Fall Guy.
Fall Guy.
Yeah.
Ryan Reynolds.
Gosling.
Ryan Gosling. There it is.
And Emily Blunt.
Yes.
Yeah. So
stunt guy.
Yeah, exactly. Ryan Gosling plays a stunt guy who has fallen in love with camera operator, I think, and then she becomes a director, and like, things ensue.
Sure.
And it also has Aaron Taylor Johnson, who is poised by some accounts to be the next James Bond.
Oh, I haven't heard that.
Yeah.
That would work.
Yeah. Anyway, so this is it's a popcorn movie.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Just entertainment.
Yeah. Did you see the trailers for it?
I did.
Yeah. What'd you think?
I thought the trailers made it look good. I'm a Ryan Gosling fan. I'm an Emily Blunt fan. So I thought, yeah, this all makes sense. Didn't see it.
Yeah. It's on streaming or like early access streaming already.
Right.
In terms of when we're recording this, I've seen it and it's quite good. Like it's not blow your mind Oppenheimer Oscar worthy.
Oh sure, yeah. But like, I don't think that was the intent.
It's summer movie.
Yeah, I mean, it does look like it. Just from the trailers, it seemed to have kind of a 90s era kind of like just action movie vibe to it.
Yeah.
Of like, plot's not going to be important.
Yep.
There's just going to be some cool stunts, some cool effects and stuff like that, and just have a good time.
Honestly, that's this movie in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Like there is a plot. But it's like
it's
loose.
Just there. It's just there.
And it's like, okay, so what? But I will say this, like there's some really good acting on Ryan Gosling's part.
Yeah.
Like I think he's a good actor.
Yeah.
But there's some really like better than Ken acting.
Right. Sure. But you liked it?
I did. Yeah,
Thumbs
I really did. Thumbs up. I definitely recommend it. I think it's a buy a big old bag of popcorn and
bucket of bag.
Get yourself, a beverage.
Sure.
And have fun.
Have fun.
Yeah, sit in a dark theater maybe if you want, or early access streaming.
Can't beat that.
Yeah.
That's what a summer movie is to me. Honestly,
exactly.
Like I mean, it's the big blockbusters too, but it's just going to have a good time. It's not necessarily looking to be challenged and
which was again so interesting because last summer was summer of Oppenheimer.
That's true.
And it was like. That's not a summer movie.
Barbenheimer,
but it was a summer movie.
Yeah.
Barbie was more of a summer movie.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. It's a good point.
So I think the next thing on our looking forward to list is Furiosa.
Yeah, Furiosa.
A Mad Max saga, I think is the full title of this film.
Right.
Yeah. Did you like Fury Road?
I did. I really did.
Too.
I listened to a podcast just yesterday where they were talking about this, and they made the point in that of Furiosa did not make the money that perhaps you think it did. Like I remember, yeah, okay. I remember Fury Road like crushing and being this kind of like, oh man, nobody thought it would do that well kind of a thing. But apparently, if you go back and look at the numbers, like it really didn't do that. It kind of had a long haul, and then it had more of an afterlife once it was available on streaming and DVD and stuff like that.
Like, it won a bunch of awards too. And I think that was it too. Like people didn't expect it to win a bunch of awards.
Right. And like that's the way I watched it, was on DVD from a friend, let me borrow it kind of a thing. Like I didn't see it in theaters. And so like I thought that was actually really interesting that it actually didn't have this huge box office impact that you kind of in your mind think that it did, but it was just kind of more of a cultural, like it had more cultural impact because like everybody was kind of talking about it. Yeah, absolutely. And it was kind of one of those things of like, if you haven't seen it, you got to see it.
You got to see it.
And so I think that's the way most people ended up seeing it, was like in the afterlife of it.
That's exactly how I saw it. Like it was friends of a friend said, hey, you need to watch this. I'm like, okay. And then watched it and went, oh my God.
Yeah, no, that is really interesting and so different from everything else that was coming out at that point in time.
Exactly.
So I am looking forward to seeing it. I'll see it at some point in time. Like the stuff I've seen of like how crazy Hemsworth looks in it looks fun. Yeah. I like Anya Taylor-Joy. She's from Peaky, right? She's a blinder.
She is. She is in Peaky Blinders. Yeah. She's in a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, she is. She's all over the place right
Gambit,
now.
Yeah, that's the big one.
So yeah, for sure. Like really excited to see it. I've heard it's good.
Yeah, likewise. I mean,
it didn't make the money that they were hoping it would make on opening.
No,
Memorial Day weekend.
Exactly. We're recording obviously after Memorial Day weekend, and I know it hasn't like killed, but I'm not super surprised about that either. Although it's got two big names, and it's got like it's riding on the coattails of Fury Road still. So
yeah, like I heard that it's the lowest Memorial 4-day weekend pull in the last 40 years.
Wow. Ugh.
Yeah.
Well,
like it only made like 30 or 40 million, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
They were comparing it to Solo, and everybody was like so disappointed in Solo. Solo still made like over 100 million.
Wow.
In that opening weekend, and this has made that little that in the last 40 years. Like you'd have to go back to like 1983, and I think it was actually ironically Return of the Jedi. They said that
Wow.
made less on Memorial Day opening weekend. So that's crazy.
That is crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So I don't know.
But again,
it was never, if I can be honest,
Yeah.
it was never a movie that I was going to go to the movie to see.
I was literally just going to say that.
And that's just, unfortunately, my lifestyle.
Yeah.
And I think that's a bit of a downfall of the streaming era.
I agree.
Of, it's got to be such a specific draw for me to want to go pay to see it in the theater. It almost has to be kind of a guarantee that I'm either so interested in it or I know that it's going to be good for me to go to the theater to see it, which is a shame. And I don't like it and I hate it, but that's just honestly just where I'm at right now.
Well,
like,
I think
to take the time to go do it, it's got to be almost a guarantee.
And I think for me, like, that's what made last summer so weird is because I feel the exact same way. And last summer there was enough that I was like, I need to go see these.
I want to go see these in theaters. Yeah.
And I think like this summer is not the same.
Yeah. I mean,
it's just, and for whatever reason, I'm excited for it, and I really want to see it.
Yeah. Can't wait till it's on streaming. I'll see it then.
That's it. Okay, so speaking of streaming, I think the next big thing released this summer, and I recognize that when this episode comes out, it's already been
Probably
out,
already
at least the first couple episodes.
What's that?
That is the newest Disney Plus Star Wars series,
The Acolyte.
The Acolyte.
Yep. I'm excited for it.
I mean, I'm sure at some point we'll do an episode on it once it all comes out.
Yeah, if it's good.
Yeah, sure.
I think there's been some Star Wars stuff come out that we haven't done. We haven't done Bad Batch. I like Bad Batch.
I like Bad Batch
really
too. Yeah.
But no, I think I'm very hopeful. Like this seems to have a similar vibe to Ahsoka.
Yes.
Like just the look of it, and what we've seen in trailers and things like that. It seems to have a similar vibe to it. It doesn't seem to be dark and gritty like Andor was.
Yeah.
It seems to be a bit more light and bright, like Ahsoka was. So that's kind of more where I've got it pinpointed right now. But heck, ton of Jedis in it. I'm not sure specifically about time period wise where we're at
it's
in the
supposed
saga.
to be, I think, several hundred years before.
Yeah, maybe
like the Skywalker saga.
Yeah.
So that right there is what gives me a lot of hope.
Yeah, same.
Because like
a new hope.
A renewed hope.
A renewed hope. I like that.
And I'll say this
nice.
Because now I've liked to varying degrees everything that's come out for Star Wars.
Yeah.
But the thing that I like the most is storyline adjacent.
Right.
And that's The Mandalorian.
Right.
It's because, like, yes, this is a universe that I know, but it's not a story I necessarily know.
Right.
I know Obi-Wan. Obviously, you're giving me some more to like, but I know the story of Obi-Wan.
Right.
I'm familiar with this character. I am familiar enough with Ahsoka. I loved Ahsoka, but you're giving me a little bit more.
Right.
And Andor, same kind of idea. So most of these stories that they've done are storyline crossing.
Right.
With the exception, really, of Mandalorian. Now, to be fair, yes, we see Luke, we get that kind of stuff, but for the most part, that is a separate story.
Right.
And this, too, seems like a separate story.
Yeah. Doesn't seem like it's going to have anything to do with anything that we already know, aside from the fact that, like, the Force exists, there's Jedi.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's very base level introduction
Correct.
into it. And and maybe
I don't have to have, at least in terms of what I think, I don't have to have all this background knowledge of 9 movies
right
to get this.
Yeah, and I don't have the expectation of when are you going to connect me to the current timeline that I already know.
Right.
Like I think that was always kind of the thing of even with Obi-Wan and Boba Fett, like all those series, it's like, okay, cool. Like when are you going to connect me to the thing?
Exactly.
This, if it's taking place that much earlier, then there's really no expectation. Like maybe there's going to be some kind of a little Easter egg at the very end of it that like connects us, but like don't have to either.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like I think that Mandalorian, they do a very good job in like just give me enough like, oh my God, that's Luke.
Right.
Like just enough so that I understand, but like you could have totally kept that separate and it would have been fine.
Totally.
The next streaming thing that is kind of on the horizon in terms of us recording is The Boys Season 4.
Cool.
I did not see Season 3.
I know I started it, and I don't think I ever finished it. The Boys is one of those series for me personally that it's hard to dedicate the time to watch it.
Yeah.
Because the episodes are so long.
Yep.
and I know I need to have like a big enough chunk of time that I can sit down and watch it. Nobody else at this point in time in my household is interested in it, so
Correct.
I've either got to go seclude myself in a room and watch it, and then I feel like,
I could be doing things with the family.
Yeah, I could be spending time with everybody else.
Yeah.
So it's hard to find the time to do it, and I don't like watching things right before I go to bed, because then if I get tired and fall asleep, I've got to go back and figure out where I was at. And did I watch that? Yeah, I already watched this. Skip. Did I watch this? No, I didn't. So let me, it's just annoying.
Yeah, I think it's one of those, like, I'm interested, but am I going to sit down and devote the time to it? I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, I would like to hear what everybody else says, but I've also, like, because I'm behind now I have to catch up to it.
I know.
But I like what they're doing with that. I like, even though it's hyper violent and super sexual, it's like, yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting.
Like,
it's a refreshing take on superheroes and comic books that, it's different from everything else that we're getting. So it is neat in that way that it is so different. So I'm for it. And I know I'll probably see it at some point in time, or at least I'll watch some sort of a review.
Exactly.
Of it,
exactly.
So
or someone else.
I'll get
take,
the gist. But yeah, it's a tough one for me to like watch.
I'm going to mention this next one, not because I'm actually going to watch it, just because I feel like we'd be yelled at if we didn't mention it. And that's House of the Dragon Season 2. That comes out like right around the same time.
Yeah.
I have gotten into Game of Thrones.
Mm-hmm.
A friend of the show gave me access to be able to watch Game of Thrones.
Right.
And I watched like the first 4 seasons-ish. And for whatever reason just kind of fell off watching it.
Right.
I really liked it. Same kind of idea. No one else in my house likes it at all.
Right.
But I'm interested. This,
I mean, I heard the first season was great.
Yeah.
Same kind of thing of like, I've actually never watched a single episode of any of it.
I don't blame you at all.
Not for like, mostly because like I didn't have HBO back in the day when it was Game of Thrones was on. So I never got into it back then. And so then when the new one came out and I did have access, I was like, okay, well, I feel like it'd be beneficial. Like I'm nerdy like that. Like I would rather go back and see the thing so that I'm at the same spot as everybody else going into it. And I remember starting to watch it one time and got through like the first 5 minutes and was like, nope.
Yeah.
Like this is, I don't have the time for this.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's like it's devoting. It's like when you start, if you start a new sci-fi series, like book wise, and you're like, I'm gonna have to read 4 books just to understand now. Like I can't.
Yeah.
I can't. Yeah, I totally get it. Back to movies. Inside Out, mid-June. Inside Out 2.
Excited about that.
Me
for
too.
sure.
Me too.
I thought, Inside Out was one of those ones that like I feel like it was in the absolute peak of Pixar.
Agreed.
Of them doing interesting things that had never really been done before, just ideas and things like that, and like especially within animation and geared towards everybody.
I mean, they were on the forefront of like dealing with, like, obviously Pixar has always been emotions,
right?
But this is like, what if emotions had emotions,
right? Well,
and
just emotions were personified,
right? Exactly.
And how would they try to deal with things inside? And yeah, no, I think it's such an interesting idea. I loved all those characters. It had such a satisfying resolution and the absolute like sad moments that only an animation movie can provide you of like
freaking Bing Bong,
man.
Oh my god,
that was tough. That was so tough. And like, but they it was so rewarding at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can't wait for that one.
Yeah, me too. And I love that it seems like they're updating it just enough.
Yep.
Obviously, you're forwarding the story. You're adding new, teenage emotions to this.
Yep.
And I think what's really cool is that based on my perception of the timeline, that it would hit perfectly with the kids that were about Riley's age.
Oh, sure, yeah.
When the first one came out, and now she's supposed to be a teenager. Like it fits pretty well.
Right.
And it's like, that's cool.
Yep.
Are you gonna get that subset to also engage?
Right.
Yeah. So cool.
Yep.
Back to streaming.
All right.
End of June, season 3 of one of my favorite shows of the last 5 years, The Bear, comes out.
The Bear, yeah.
The Bear, yeah.
Haven't seen it yet.
Oh my god. Oh, you're killing me.
Yeah, I got to get into it.
It is so good.
Yeah.
I know that we've talked about it off pod, but even if you are not a foodie if you like that term, or even if you don't spend a whole lot, if you've never worked in a restaurant. I know friends of the show have told me personally, like, that's kind of what it is. Maybe not the stakes and like people yelling as much, but like this kind of like a pressure cooker situation.
Right.
And man, the writing of this series is so good. And you've got Jeremy Allen White. You've got like real life chef Maddie Madison. You've got like people that are just like embody this kind of Chicago atmosphere and idea. It's set in Chicago.
Right.
Like, it is right up your alley, man.
Yeah, I got to get into it.
And season 3, I don't want to spoil anything, but the main character is now making a restaurant after kind of like dismantling another one.
Right.
And it's like, okay, what kind of chaos is going to ensue?
Right.
It is so good.
Cool. Can't wait to get into it.
One of my favorite scenes of all television is in the first in the first season, where Jeremy Allen White's character, he like presents this monologue to camera, and it's like a 5-minute unbroken monologue in a series. It is so good, man.
Nice.
It is crushingly good. Yeah. So I can't wait for season 3.
That's for me. I want to say it was the first episode of the last season of Peaky. He's in that bar. I want to say it's in Scotland though, but he's meeting up with his nephew and those other dudes, and they're talking about stuff. But like something that's said there, like right as he's walking out of that bar before like the birds fly out and shit, that like so well done.
Which brings us into mid-July.
Okay.
Yeah, we're skipping, like I said, we're skipping something.
Jumping around.
A sequel comes out July 19th.
July 19th.
Yep.
What's that one?
It's called Twisters.
Twisters. Who's in that?
Glenn Powell.
Okay.
Daisy Edgar Jones.
Sure.
But Glenn Powell is kind of like the one who's like driving this.
I got you.
He was in Top Gun Maverick.
Yep. He's in a lot of stuff now.
Yeah, and he's been in a lot of stuff like lately. I'm weirdly like,
where are you? As the Twister
I know.
Guru.
I know I'm going to see this movie in the theaters.
Sure.
This one I know I'm going to see.
Sure. You're just going for the Easter eggs.
No, can I be honest? I'm going for the train wreck.
Oh, you expect it to be awful?
I don't think it's going to be good.
Okay.
No. But I know that I'm going because my wife has already told me that I'm going.
You see, like I
want to see it.
Right.
But
I like Powell.
Yeah, me too.
And so I don't think it's gonna be a hard continuation of the story. I think the continuation to me is gonna be it's a tornado movie, and we can't call it Twister.
Right.
Like, I'm sure there will be some Easter eggs. There will be some sort of a through line of, because isn't he dead? Did he die?
Bill Paxton?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So like
a
obviously
good bit ago.
he can't be in it.
Right.
You
But Helen
obviously
Hunt
you
could be
could
in
bring back Helen Hunt.
Yeah.
I just don't think they're going to lean too hard on it being
It's
a
not
continuation.
No, it's not. From what I understand, it's I guess what you would call like a standalone sequel. Like
Right.
it's related, but you don't have to have seen Twister.
Right.
There's not going to be like this is a continuation in the same way of like.
Right. It seems like it's almost like a James Bond kind of a thing.
Yeah,
of like,
yeah.
What
yeah.
happened in the last one has got nothing to do with
Right,
this one. It's just
right.
its own thing.
Yeah.
So like in that sense, maybe it'll be interesting. Like I think in the same vein of Twister, the only reason people went to go see that is because computer graphics at that point in time had
Sure.
gotten to a point that they could realistically
Yeah.
shoot a tornado on scene and the things they could do with that.
Yes.
So I think it's just going to be a continuation of that.
It's exactly what we said with Fall Guy. Like it's going to be popcorn.
Yeah.
And like.
Yeah, see what kind of like weird situations they
Right.
get into with that tornado.
Well, I think we've talked about this. Like, why Twister works is because like you have to suspend belief and disbelief and physics
Yeah.
and time and all of it. Like none of this actually matters anymore.
like, what, this is all over one day?
Yeah,
Like, what? Come
this-
on now.
This is a weekend, and somehow we
Yeah.
went from one side of Oklahoma to the other side of Oklahoma in the matter of like an hour,
And found every tornado in the state.
Yeah.
Just found them.
Yeah, we're like the sky's dark, and then the sky's bright, and then the sky's dark again, and now somehow we got cows. Okay,
I think it's the same cow.
So if it's that, I'm for it. But like,
We're gonna do an episode on it.
yeah,
Solely just because
I don't think you can recreate the weirdness of the mid '90s movie in the same way.
Oh yeah.
And
I mean,
think about all those movies from the mid '90s. They're all just like, what the hell is going? Like,
I would just say Top Gun Maverick.
oh man, you're not wrong.
Like
you're
that's
not
why
wrong.
they make these things, is because like odds are it's gonna be crap,
Yeah, you're not wrong.
but it could be freaking great.
And I will say this, like, the director of this, his name is Lee Isaac Chung, and he did some of the Mandalorian episodes, I'm pretty sure.
Oh.
And it's produced by Spielberg, so it still has some hope, but
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah.
All right, next on the list, we're nearing the end here. July 26th.
I think that's the big one.
That is the big one, which is really interesting that it's so late in the summer. I mean, late. Well, I guess it's midsummer.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think it was where it was initially supposed. No, I think maybe it was always supposed to be that date.
Yeah.
Maybe that one moved. Maybe it didn't. I don't really remember. But I think there was other movies that was gonna come before that
Correct.
they then either
Scrapped for
scrapped
whatever
or
reason,
moved
yeah.
or whatever.
And what we're talking about,
Deadpool and Wolverine.
Deadpool and Wolverine. How do you feel about Deadpool as a whole?
I genuinely love those movies. Like
Yeah.
they're really good. Like they're not for everybody.
No, definitely
They're not appropriate for everybody.
Definitely not.
But I love Ryan Reynolds, and I think his embodiment of the character is just about as spot on as you could argue
Agreed.
anybody has been
Agreed.
in a comic book role. Like he's as synonymous as the character as Chris Evans is as Captain America,
Yeah.
as Robert Downey is as Iron Man. Like he's right there in that pinnacle of perfect casting.
Yep.
That I think was kind of rare. Like I think, like that Hugh Jackman is Wolverine, but at the same time, it's like his version of the character.
Yeah.
Like the Wolverine that is from the comics is not Hugh Jackman.
No.
And that was always kind of the argument when Jackman was cast in the role of like, but he's not the right size, he's not the right thing. Like it was a different time period. They weren't as accurate with their casting at that point in time.
Yeah.
That's not the case with Reynolds. Like he is Deadpool. He's like just perfect for the role.
Yeah. I've enjoyed the Deadpool movies.
Yeah.
I have not enjoyed all of the X-Men movies.
Yeah, agreed.
As
I don't
much
think
as
anybody has.
as much as as much as I like X-Men, we just talked about X-Men a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
As much as I like X-Men, I still haven't enjoyed all those movies. So I am really interested to see how they're blending these two things together now that they can.
Yeah.
And like,
Agreed.
okay, what are you now going to do with this? And I know like there's not been a whole lot released in terms of like as our recording of this about what the movie's really about, what they're going to really do here.
Right.
I'm really excited to see where does this go. And I don't know, like you said, I just like this character. They're both, Deadpool's snarky.
It's what we've always wanted.
Exactly.
From the first Deadpool movie. Like we've always like wanted to see Deadpool and Wolverine together.
Yeah.
It's been the ongoing joke for the first two movies.
Oh, easy, yeah.
That he's so obsessed with Wolverine and Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just it's
Well, and like
phenomenal that we're finally getting it.
Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman have been friends for like 20 years at this
Yeah.
point.
Well, I mean, since the origins of Wolverine,
Yeah, that's gonna be good.
it's great that they're finally doing it, and I think for this to be the only Marvel movie out this year, I think says a lot to how confident they are in that movie.
Yeah,
And I think they can. I think they have the ability now to just unload and put whatever they want to in that movie and bring back characters and just
do the thing.
blow it all up.
Yeah, yeah,
Because it doesn't matter anymore.
exactly.
This,
And-
and how they I'm dying to know how they get to the MCU.
Yeah.
That's just all I want to know.
Exactly.
It's not that ring in the trailer. That's just a
Now, how do you?
that's
tie,
just a ploy.
'cause
I almost even think
they're
that
gonna tie
shot's
this
in it.
together.
I think that's just a shot that they used for the trailer.
Oh, I hate when they do that.
I don't.
But yeah,
I don't
agree.
even think that's going to be in the movie at all.
I agree.
But there's got to be a way that it's either the TVA or something. Somehow they get to the MCU, and I'm really curious what they do when they get there.
Yeah, because you're gonna have Deadpool. This has always been heading in that direction, but like, how are you gonna do that? How are you gonna put Deadpool into the PG-13 MCU in that way? What are you gonna do with that?
Just but the way the character is, I think he'll still say all the dumb shit that he says, and like the comic book asterisk,
yeah.
like stuff will come up, and he's like, "What is that?" And he'll say it
You
again,
can't
and
say
it'll
that
happen
here.
again, and he's like, "I don't. What, why does that keep happening?
Yeah,
I can't say what I want to say." And it'll just keep happening, and then they'll keep on going.
Yeah. Our last thing we're going to mention, and that is the August 29th release of the second of 5 seasons of The Rings of Power.
I mean, I'm really excited about it. I thought the first season was really fun,
Yeah.
really enjoyable. Man, how do they make 5 seasons out of this? Though?
Well, my thing is like it's been almost 2 years since the last season.
right.
Like this is going to take 10 years. I think it's now going to speed up very clearly. I hope anyway. But it's going to take
I mean, unless that doesn't do well. and then it'll slow down real quick.
Well, that's true, but they've guaranteed 5 seasons. Obviously, they could pull the plug.
Oh yeah, they're just saying that to like, don't worry.
But
We're gonna give it all to you.
Listen, like I am.
You don't want it.
So excited for this.
Yeah.
Because like I mean, give me more. Give me more Lord of the Rings. We said that in our episode.
And then they are.
Yeah.
You know, they're doing the movie now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it is kind of interesting how much they're going to start doing, but a little bit of trepidation too of like, ooh, is it too much?
Yeah, I don't disagree. But after what, like, I love that. Again, in the same vein that like we already discussed with some of the shows and series related to Star Wars, like this is a story that we are sort of familiar with, but we've not seen.
Right.
And they're putting some of these things that, if you've read the Silmarillion, you've heard some of these things, but like it's not in the same depth that this is going into.
Right.
And I really like that. Like you don't have to know anything about Lord of the Rings to know this. Like
right.
Obviously it helps, but you don't have to know anything. And that first season was just delightful.
Yeah, it was fun.
That's heading into towards the end of summer. So I think it's a really interesting way to kind of end the summer as a whole.
I kind of wish it was like a little later.
You do?
Yeah.
I think it's like a fall thing.
Yeah, or even like late fall.
Ooh.
Like, because I feel like I always still equate Lord of the Rings with the holidays, because that's when they originally came out.
Oh, yeah. They all came out. And if I'm not mistaken, the first season came out in November.
Yeah, because I feel like, I want to say that when we were watching it, it feels like it was just a fall kind of a thing.
So, yeah.
And I definitely feel like I kind of want to go back and watch season 1.
I do.
Before this comes out.
I'll probably be watching
refresh.
season 1 instead of watching The Boys or something.
Yeah, for sure. And it's just, and that's like, again, it's just one of those things. It's hard to find time for all of it.
Exactly.
We have too much content to see everything.
Exactly.
But everybody's fighting and putting out cool shit that you want to watch.
Yeah.
And
hard
listen to see it all. Yeah. Anyway.
You got anything else?
No. Excited for all of it.
Yeah.
Bring it on.
I also don't have anything else in my glass. You've got like half a water.
Yeah, I got a bunch of chunks in there. I'm trying to get the ice out of the way that I can get to it because it's all still gin soaked and delicious.
I'll say this, like as the cocktail or as I sipped through this cocktail, I think it got better. Like I feel like for me, the flavors melded together a little bit better. So I wonder, not that I didn't like it before, but I wonder if this is like a make ahead kind of cocktail.
Kind of batch it.
And then let it like steep a little.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. At the same time, I like that about cocktails. I like that they kind of start here and there's a progression through it.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the fun of it, you know. I don't know if I'd want to take that away.
Yeah, good point.
But it could, though. I mean, it's certainly a batchable cocktail. If you're having a party
easy.
or something like that, you just want to make a bunch of it so it's all ready and there and you don't have to keep pausing every 5 minutes to go make somebody else another cocktail.
Yeah.
Absolutely do it. And that'd be an easy one to like just make a bunch of it.
Yeah, you can make that in a whole watermelon if you want to.
There you go. Just put a spigot on the end of it.
Oh, yeah. Why not? That's what a spigot sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a watermelon.
Exactly. On that note, we'd love to know what you think about a watermelon cooler.
Yeah. This is the summer of cocktails.
Right.
What is your quintessential summer cocktail, and why is it the watermelon cooler?
And if you haven't had a watermelon cooler, go make yourself one right now. We'll wait.
Yeah, and let us know how you tweaked it to better suit your preferences.
Exactly. We also want to know, what are you looking forward to this summer in terms of entertainment, movie, and or streaming wise?
Yeah, what did we miss? Because I'm sure there was something out there
we definitely missed a lot.
That's coming out that you're really excited about.
For sure.
Let us know.
Well, you can get in touch with us through email. That's drippinstone@gmail.com. You can also get in touch with us through social media.
Find us everywhere. It's one word, Drippinstone, DREP and Stone. If you're socializing your media there's some of ours being socialized also.
And we'd love it if you support the podcast. You can do so in a couple of ways. The first of which is rate Drippinstone wherever it is you find great podcasts like this one. You can also support Drippinstone by finding us on Patreon and supporting us there. That's patreon.com/Drippinstone.
Yeah.
You can also get yourself a couple of goodies and support the podcast by using our promo code on Flaviar. That's DSP10. And finally, Kyle.
Yes, sir.
You can tell someone about Drippinstone.
So it's the preferred way.
Yeah. You're outside mowing your lawn.
Yep. Hey, pal.
Oh. Yes, sir?
Hit a thick patch there, didn't you?
Well, I turned off my lawnmower. It sound like
that grass made you turn off your
That's
lawnmower.
over the septic tank right there.
Hey, you look hot.
Thank you. Oh, I'm wearing my shorty shorts.
Well, I just made a batch of this watermelon cooler that I got from Drip and Stone. Thought I'd offer you
Drip
some.
and Stone?
Yeah. It's a podcast that these guys do.
No. I know about Drip and Stone. Check my tattoo.
Wow.
Well, you can see it because I'm wearing my shorty shorts.
Yeah, it is way up on your inner thigh.
You're welcome.
Man.
Yeah. But what did you say? Watermelon cooler?
Yeah, it was on one of their episodes recently. It's delightful. And I think you need a drink right now.
Are you bringing it to me or am I coming over?
It's in my hand right now. I'm reaching it out to you. You just need to take it out of my hand.
That looks refreshing.
There you go.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Are we best friends now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course.
Can I finish mowing the lawn while sipping this? Is that all right? I'll bring it back to you.
Give it a shot if you can.
Okay.
Man, that's gonna be hard to weed eat. Hi, buddy. Man, this might have been a mistake. But it's that easy.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean, you spread the good word and gave somebody a good drink.
Absolutely.
And that's all you can, do in life.
What could be better than that?
Yeah. Mission accomplished.
On that note, hey, buddy.
Hey, buddy.
May your glass overflow.
And your ass never show. Cheers, buddy.
Cheers. You ready?
Ready.
That's going to be real loud. Real loud.
Right to my soul.
Uh,
My mouth's dry. Do the watermelon crawl.
They're doing some yard work next door.